Good morning. It's Sunday. Journey Red Pill here. I hope everybody's getting by and doing the best they can with the situation given us right now. And I want people to start questioning things and see for themselves. When I was very young, I was very curious and I wanted to know more about a little bit of everything. I went down and started breaking things down. But it's a long journey because, like they say, the rabbit hole is very deep. Um, so, one of the things we don't understand is language, of course, etymology, where things come from. And people need to understand that we're not supposed to be in this situation here right now. This is a control situation for far too long, and it goes back further than you think. Um, you can't even begin to imagine, and I wouldn't imagine either because it took me a long time, of course. But I ask people always have an open mind and understand that this situation right now was planned a long time ago, and we need to know and see where we're at. Um, for example, have you ever questioned, because people don't question things. Have you ever questioned why there's a construction site and they stop work on it all of a sudden and it takes a long time, or is in bad condition for a long time? Especially living in New York, you get to see that a lot because these businesses are getting paid, these contracting businesses are getting paid a lot of money to build wherever they're building. But then in the meantime, we're the ones. I mean, let me tell you, I've seen it for myself. There's some sites in constructing where there's a street underneath the train, in a suburb block, whatever it is, that's been left for 3 years, supposedly working on it. And you start questioning things along. I mean, I started questioning things since I was a kid. But if you're programmed the way people are right now to believe into the media, that's their number one business for the elites. And that goes back to the language, because if you go back and understand language, elite, where it come from, elite are the top of the top, L-E-L. When we go back, for example, in the Bible, and we read the Elohim created, men in their own image, Elohim, but it's translated because the Old Testament is translated. It was originally written in Hebrew. So Elohim, El meant Most High, and Ahim meant the Most Highs. So you start questioning, once you start listening to, you got to go down. First of all, real journalism comes from individuals. What you get on TV is watered down, sometimes controlled. I'm not saying that all of it is bad. All I'm saying is that there's good and bad in everything, and you need to be able to see those things for yourself. So the elites, when it goes back to contracting and all of that, first of all, El meant Most High, or to be brought up. Now, it goes back to etymology and how we speak today, that we don't even know the words that we're saying or where they come from. For example, El meant Most High, and then you have elders. The elders are the wisest of the wisest. You have even Trump, for example. I'm not saying anything positive or negative about the man. I'm just saying Trump is president because he got elected, L-E-L. Now he is on top. When you start doing these things, you start understanding where words come from, etc. And going back to what I said real quick about the contracting businesses and how they take a long time, etc. When you start seeing these selected, elected officials that are running and campaigning, and they get to these positions, and you go down records, you start understanding that a lot of them got paid from contracting firms who do contracting, and therefore, since they gave donations to this elected official, then now they get to be able to get the sites for construction and stuff like that. You'll see a certain individual got $7 million from 40 different contracting companies. And then you see these contracting companies, if they work in the city or wherever it is, and they're not doing things the way they're supposed to be doing according to the money. And we're really living in a time where everything is really tight. You know, they say that look, for example, New York City, the minimum wage is $15 an hour. And let me tell you, you work an hour to get a meal, basically. You know, then there's taxes. You know, we work hard all our lives to accomplish and build and do a lot of things that we're supposed to be doing, and live in this place, in this utopia where we have created for ourselves. But that's not where we're at. If you really think about it, everything right now is controlled. What happened to all the independent businesses, all the independent projects and thinkings? And when I say independent, you know, first of all, you have a constitution, and there's very basically nothing that's honored in that constitution, because we're told. And if we're the ones choosing what happens, right? It's by the people, for the people. So think about this. It's by the people, for the people. So if we get to choose what's going on as a whole, rather than being told or, being infiltrated in our minds with all this information about this is what's going on, the Bill Gates, the Fauci, it's all a fiasco. It really makes no sense. You start understanding what's going on. I remember when 9/11 happened. I don't know where a lot of people was at. I'm from New York. I remember that when the first plane hit, supposedly, I asked my manager, because I was working in a store. I was working in Pathmark. I worked in a store in Queens at the time, and I had to drive over the bridge, the Whitestone Bridge. So when the first plane hit it, something in my mind was like, well, something might happen. And I asked my manager to leave. That was at 9-something in the morning. I'm driving. I'm on my way now back to the Bronx, and sure enough, they closed the bridge. I was basically parked in the highway, in the Whitestone Expressway, going on my way to the Whitestone Bridge. And when you have big situations like that, you always remember what happened. You know, where were you at? Because of the situation. It's a big situation, so you always remember. But normally when you get fed information, we see it and we forget about it. Whether it's a corruption scandal, all types of scandals, a presidential scandal like Clinton, for example, Bill Clinton, you could go down the list. We forget about it. Your mind just moves on because we're constantly entertained for a business, entertained because it keeps us as machines going. You know, remember, we're the work class. We're the ones that produce. We work. You know, you get up in the morning and you follow the cycle. You get up, you drink your coffee if you drink your coffee. If not, you do whatever you got to do. Go out to work, come back. Now you watch TV and watch a movie, and you go back to sleep, and it becomes a pattern. And you start understanding that, in a sense, they have been keeping us like this for a long time. You got so many people that has, like I said, in the real journalism comes from individuals, and you have so many people that have spoken out, but something happens to them. And it's funny because I'll give you an example. Isaac Cappy, who was an actor, he came on and he came out on the record. I remember he was doing videos at the time, and I was watching them, and I was like, wow, I was so surprised that he was outing all these guys like Tom Hanks and Seth Rich Seth Rich and Seth Green and all the other people. And he was saying that in every video that he would come out, he would say that he was not suicidal, that if anything happened to him, he was not a suicidal person. But sure enough, what happened, what comes out, he committed suicide a little bit after that. And it happens to a lot of these people. It's a battle that's been going on for a long time. They make examples out of people. If you talk, or if you say something, if you go against the grain, that's what it is. You're pointed out. You're picked up on. Remember, those that have done their homework or started to do their homework, their technology is more advanced than the one that they give us. It's been said before many times by many different whistleblowers. It's so far advanced that a lot of times we don't recognize, or we're easily deceived because they're using that. But I also remember, for example, listening to Jordan Maxwell, how he started speaking on these things. It was Jordan Maxwell. Then you have Dr. Stephen Greer. Dr. Stephen Greer is very knowledgeable. He started in the 90s. He actually left his job to do this full time. He spoke to so many senators around the country, and he spoke to a lot of elected officials, and he was trying to let them know about all this information that he had, plus all the whistleblowers who came on record. He actually had a public conference over 10 years ago, where it's like a tribunal, and you see people there all talking, and you see, it's official, and you got all these people coming on record, standing one after the other, spending 10-15 minutes on the mic speaking about what they know, what part of compartmentalization they worked in, whether it was military, whether it's whatever, and they speaking out about the things that they know. And that's real journalism. But of course, that never comes down back to you. A lot of times you see an article or something small in the paper, you don't see it again. The topics that they talk about a lot of the times is entertainment topics. If you really break it down, there's so many things that are so important for us to really talk about that we don't talk about because we have no platforms. YouTube demonetized basically anybody that is speaking about the COVID-19, deep state. Amazon, now just came back and released some books out that they had stopped from being released, of people who know, whistleblowers, or who know what's going on. Excuse me. But even all the Twitters, all these Facebook, you say something on Facebook that is controversial, you get taken down. And you start posting these videos, you get taken down. Like I said, the latest I heard was the one with the YouTube now and Vivo, where they're demonetizing people. And that's not my situation, because I never monetized my channel, or tried to, whatever. So yeah, this is going on. It's happening to all the people that are speaking out, and basically freedom of speech is being lost. Amongst many things, there's a lot of other things that's going on, but you gotta go down your own path. I see that for myself too. There's a lot of people that know a lot of things. There's people who, I see the first thing that happens is, people get scared when they talk about certain things. It's scary for them. Then you have denial. And after denial, you start having acceptance, because it's a level thing. You're not going to just jump in the ocean and start swimming. You're going to start, learning how to swim little by little when you go to the side of the water by the beach. But I don't think anybody who's never ever swum before gets thrown in the middle of the ocean and knows how to swim. So it's a process. Also remember